Alright. Well, let me just give everyone the rundown of what happened tonight. Well, I guess I could say last night because this has been pre-recorded. Last night, from 8 o'clock all the way till about almost 9:30, Google proceeded to run me around in a bunch of bullshit that it usually does whenever it decides that it just doesn't want to work. What do I mean? Well, it would give me the "you're live" thing, and then it would continuously go with the whole "going live" indicator, as in the little buffering wheel will continue to show up and buffer 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 and buffer, but never load. Which means you're more or less stuck in a situation of digital purgatory, where you are not sure whether or not you are free to start saying something, or whether or not you're going to have to play catch up with Google for about 20 minutes while you try to figure out what the fuck you're going to say. Now, let me just say this. I don't like people at all who go around doing hypocritical shit, and then they wonder why the fuck it is people give them like hostility and derision. But I have even less sympathy for these people when they knowingly do it, and then they act like they're completely unaware as to why their actions make them look bad. Because it's even worse, because the lack of self-awareness that people like this motherfucker seem to have, it's amazing. But it's not amazing in a good way. It's amazing that a human being could be this fucking stupid. And make it like day in, day out, like they never question anything at all that they fucking do. And instead of trying to act like an adult and just sit down for a minute and try to listen to what other people say, they instead decide that they are the authority on everything and everyone else is mentally inferior just cause. And no one else is ever permitted to criticize anything, or no one else is ever permitted to like put their ideas under scrutiny, when at the same time all they really do is proceed to spurg out and whine and complain and bitch and piss and moan. And then later on after that, all they do is cry and bitch and point fingers at everyone else. And then after that, all they do is act like everyone on the planet is accountable for their actions, when they themselves are the only person capable of actually owning up to what the fuck they've done. Now, there are parts of me that really just want to find this person and just proceed to beat the ever-loving shit out of them until pretty much their soul leaves their body. Why? Let me explain. I can't stand it when people try to act like they are morally in the right whenever they do something messed up, and then when someone criticizes them and points out the stupidity of their follies, they will just continue to scream at people and demand that people feel ashamed of what they said about them, when the only reason the people said this shit about them in the first fucking place was because they made a giant asshole of themselves and proceeded to run people around in bullshit circles, trying to act like that somehow made them smarter than everyone around them. Pretty much what happens every time someone tries to talk about people like this, it usually goes as following. You say a whole bunch of things that are factually correct by using their own stupid statements against them, and trying to point out why their logic doesn't exactly make sense when you apply it to real-life situations. And more or less they respond by freaking the fuck out, bitching and throwing a temper tantrum, labeling you as a bigot of whatever kind that they personally suits whatever you're arguing against. And they more or less try to use nonsensical ad hominems besides the word bigot as a way to try to discredit you and make you feel ashamed for having a difference in opinion. And this is stupid. This is fucking stupid. Because really, this is a person who believes that cherry-picking information automatically makes the information correct, when they also seem to refute mainstream facts. He calls everything that goes against his personal beliefs fake news, which is kind of weird. Like, he said to Justin in one of his debates with Justin that having discourse with someone and like bouncing ideas off someone is basically, that's like it's free speech, and like a functioning person who's normal bounces ideas off on someone else, like they bounce ideas back and forth. But the problem is when Justin simply tried to bounce ideas back to him and like tried to bounce some facts into his head, he proceeded to do the following. He labeled Justin a bigot, started screaming at Justin like an asshole, kept trying to talk over Justin, and anytime Justin would try to calmly just tell him to calm the fuck down so that he could try to talk to him and explain why his ideas are flawed to some aspect or another, he more or less proceeded to try to yell over Justin even more. And yet for some reason he says that he's open-minded. If he was really as open-minded as he claims to be, he'd be more than willing to take scrutiny instead of acting like a bitter little cunt every time someone bothers to criticize him. Instead of acting like a grown adult who's fully capable of understanding why his actions are not entirely on the up and up when it comes to certain shit that he's done that I'll talk about in a moment, he would actually be a lot more mature, he would be a lot more of a balanced fucking human being. In fact, maybe if he smoked a little bit of weed every now and then, maybe he'd be a little bit more calm and a little bit less fucking crazy and impulsive, instead of just going after people at random bullshit intervals for no other reason except for the fact that he's desperate for attention. Because part of me thinks that's what a lot of this is. Part of me just thinks he's kind of like throwing a fucking hissy fit because he wants attention. And instead of just accepting the fact that people refuse to give him attention for the bullshit nonsense that he pulls, he instead wants to scream and cry and bitch and piss and moan and point fingers at people and label them as bigots because that saves him the trouble of actually trying to own up to the fact that he has no right to bitch at anyone when all he does is scream like an asshole. I mean, really, if all you're gonna do is yell like a dickhead and scream at them and demand that they feel bad for you because you put yourself in an unfavorable position, excuse me, can't quite talk today, or stream, apparently. But nevertheless, like, you can't put yourself in a bad situation and then point fingers at everyone else and blame them for your stupidity. It's ridiculous. Like, nobody has any right to simply point at everyone in the room and say, you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. It's your fault I got myself in this situation. No, it's yours. Because if you were actually willing to listen to what people say instead of blocking them whenever they criticize you or disagree with you, instead of bothering their sick family members like an asshole, instead of mocking people's family members having passed away of a terrible, painful disease, then maybe, just maybe, people wouldn't have as much of a problem with you as they've had with you lately. Here's the thing, Stetson, and I know you're going to watch this, because let's face it, the moment your name comes up, your ears just perk up, because you know for a fact, oops, someone gave me attention. Because you're a fucking attention whore. If you didn't pull this type of shit to people wouldn't have been nearly as pissed off. I find it funny that you have the gall to ask Damien for an apology because he said mean words about you on the fucking internet. But when people's family members are potentially ill, like they're very ill and they're not feeling very well, they're in the hospital or they have like some sort of medical issue going on with them, you want to harass them about their transgender kid because you're an asshole. Here's the thing. I might hate you as a human being, Stetson, but I've never harassed your family. I've never went out of my way to look for your family or fuck with your family. Why? Because they are not my problem. You are. My problem is with you, not with your family. And the fact that you don't seem to be able to respect those boundaries kind of shows why the fuck you were probably thrown out of your house. One thing that really confuses me about your morality, Stetson, is like, well, you say morals don't exist. Okay, well, if morals don't exist, that means there's no such thing as good or bad or good or evil. Because usually morality more or less is a system of how we judge actions based upon selfish actions which can be considered bad, or selfless actions which could be considered positive. And instead of trying to just simply attribute actions to positive versus negative effects to others or yourself, you instead seem to think that actions that benefit you immediately benefit everyone around you, regardless of how blatantly false that whole idea is. Because you keep trying to act like you represent the entire human race. You say that conservatives are not human. Yes, they are. Just because you don't agree with them, and just because there may be a handful of Bible-thumping religious assholes who hate gay people within the conservative portion of the country, doesn't automatically make every conservative a homophobe. That's basically a false generalization you're giving yourself so that you can immediately dehumanize people based upon their political beliefs alone. Which is kind of fucking weird. It's a really weird thing to do because you keep trying to say that it's wrong to judge people based upon anything, but you're judging people because they disagree with you, and you're immediately trying to put them in a category where you can dehumanize them and talk about them as though they're less than human. Not because they've done things that are negative and harmful to another human being, other than saying mean words on the internet, because wah, get over it. You fucking crybaby. But instead, it's like, well, you said mean words about me. That means it's the same thing as, like, being someone who, like, hurts people intentionally for no reason. By the way, nice slander. Fuck off. My lawyer will be contacting you briefly. We'll just have to find whatever overpass you're staying under. I'll sue you for the cardboard box you're sleeping in. Like, I'll burn it in front of you just to make sure you shut your stupid trout fucking mouth. And no, fish is not a slur against Asian people. If you are from India, you are Indian, not Asian. India is its own country. It's part of the Asian continent. But it is not a place where people that are usually associated with being Asian are from. Ergo, it does not count as being Asian. It counts as being Indian. Same reason that being Native American counts as being Native American, because you were born in the United States and you happen to be Native in descent. Like, that's the thing. Like, you need to draw distinctions between what part of what country you're from and what the ethnicity is, because it kind of seems really facetious. It's like, well, it means you're racist. No, it's because you legitimately look like a trout. You actually look like one because you have huge fucking lips. Your nose is like pressed way into your fucking skull, like it's merging into your fucking sinuses, like how fish don't have noses. And you have one eye that's facing this way, one eye that's facing that way. So you got, like, your eyes are kind of like you have an eye going down here and eye going up there. Like, you can't even look straight in the eye because your eyes are fucking off center. Makes me wonder if your parents beat you in the fucking head with a brick while you were in the womb and you turned out this fucked up because they tried to abort you. And I'm not even saying this to be an asshole, like, legitimately, there has to be something mentally wrong with you. By the way, like, how do people get this education that you keep telling everyone to get? Like, I'm really curious. Like, you say you graduated Liberty University, but you said you got a degree in education. Okay, so a degree in education means exactly what? That you studied a little bit of everything, but you didn't really study anything that was actually relevant? I studied just enough of each individual course so that I know a little bit of everything, but fuck all about anything. Because that's really what that means. It's kind of like gender studies or humanities. It's a pointless fucking study that retards go into because they know they're too stupid to actually get a major that's actually worth a fuck. Like, yeah, you know those people that want to go in for electrical engineering? Those people don't matter. The gender studies people, those are the ones that really need the attention. I want to see how their degree in lesbian dance theory fixes that bridge from breaking down or stops the hydroelectric dam from fucking blowing up. Can you watch one of these fucking dumbasses like, I believe you turn the wrench to the left, like the fucking valve got too tight and it fucking just combusts a bunch of fucking air and water just fucking explodes. Whole dam fucking goes up because the pressure was too much for it to hold. Hundreds of people are dead. I thought you said you had a degree in lesbian dance theory. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Like, that's pretty much how that would go. As soon as that person found out that that individual didn't have a degree that actually corresponded with the field required to work that job properly, they would be fired on the spot, because not only did they just cause potentially millions of dollars in damages, but they've also most likely caused a couple of fatalities to occur while working, because they're completely unsure of what the fuck to do. Stetson, what you don't seem to understand is that just yammering out of your ass doesn't make you smarter than everyone around you. Like, you can't walk into a room and say, nothing exists unless I say it does. My word immediately rewrites all the laws of history and time. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. You're a conservative. Actually, I'm a libertarian. You're a conservative. I'm a libertarian. You're a conservative because I say you are. No, I'm not. You can say that until you're fucking dead. It doesn't mean it's true. You're just a conservative, like, runs out of the room crying because the person didn't needlessly agree with him over nothing. Because we all know it's what you do, Stetson. Like, the moment someone disagrees with you, you can't just say, okay, well, you have the right to an opinion, but here's why I think you're wrong. And instead of, like, laying out, like, an actual validated statistic list of why people could be considered wrong, you instead just decide, well, a whole bunch of random bullshit that I just made up is more important than facts. Holy fucking shit. I apologize, I'm answering messages. Thing is, though, instead of acting like a fucking adult, you want to cry and bitch and scream and moan and ree and point fingers at people and say they're bigots because they don't like you. The reason people don't like you is because you ran up to people calling them fucking stupid. Just because they didn't agree with you. Not because you could prove them wrong. Not because you could actually do anything at all that would actually put them in a state where they are unable to answer your question with an actual response. You more or less just said, I'm smarter than everyone. He. I'm better than everyone, 'cause I say so, and if you disagree with me, you're a bigot. That's exactly what the fuck you've done. That's all you've ever done. You just walk up and or you just walk into the fucking room, point fingers at everyone and say, all of you are mentally inferior just 'cause I say so, and if you disagree with me, you're automatically a bigot. And then, of course, people are going to tell you to go fuck yourself because they don't want to be, like, fucking subjugated by some retard who can't even spell a word right. Your books are utter trash, by the way. They're trash. And no, I'm not going to pay a fucking penny for them. I screen capped every page of your last little train wreck, and I'm going to put it everywhere for everyone to make fun of you. I'm not afraid to fucking say that. And the reason I'm not afraid to say it is because a lot of the shit you did legitimately pissed me off. It's like, haha, a member of your family died, that's karma, oh, fuck you. Oh, fuck you. Could you imagine being that big of a piece of shit that every time someone says something mean about you, your first thought is whether or not you can exploit something fucked up in their life later on and label that as karma because you're too big of a pussy to get over it? Like, if a member of your family died, asshole, I wouldn't say that type of shit. I wouldn't say shit about it. Do you want to know why? It's because it would not be my fucking business. It would not be my business to commentate about a member of your family having been fucking dead. And it still wouldn't be now. Like, if someone in your family died today or tomorrow from like whatever cause, I wouldn't be on your personal Facebook or on your channel filling the comment section with a bunch of bullshit laughing about it, or I wouldn't say shit about it. If it became my knowledge somehow, I wouldn't say shit about it. I wouldn't console you because I don't fucking like you at all, but I wouldn't be there mocking you either. I'd be thinking, okay, well, this is not my fucking business, I'm not getting involved in it. But instead, you want to act like a whiny fucking crybaby asshole who treats everyone else's problems like it's a fucking joke. For when someone says mean shit to you, oh no, the whole world needs to run to your defense. Don't you see kind of how hypocritical that is? Don't you find that just the least bit hypocritical? That it's perfectly fine for you to, like, mock people's dead family members and, like, harass people's sick moms. But if someone happens to just call you an asshole for doing that because that's an asshole-ish thing to do, somehow reason everyone else is the biggest dickhead in the world. I wish I could just live inside that mind of yours for a minute and just witness your delusion up front. And then I'd be just completely baffled by the fact that any human being can be so fucking crazy that they immediately assume that whatever they want to be true is true and whatever they don't believe in is automatically false. Not because they can prove it wrong, mind you, but just because they delusionally, just because they're, like, living in a state of, like, self-imposed denial. It's like, yeah, allow me to put myself in a position where I do not think about anything for 3 seconds. Because, honestly, it just seems like you don't think about anything that you say at all. It seems like you say it on a whim, like some kid with an impulse problem, and then the moment you realize what you said, it's like, oh, fuck, I've really shafted myself here. That's kind of what it seems like. It seems like you're just trying your ass off to not fuck yourself over with your stupid remarks, and just your all-around brain-dead method of handling things. But when it comes to actually dealing with scrutiny, you can't. Which is kind of fucking sad. It's like, yeah, let me act like I'm the smartest person in the room. Then when people start asking me normal questions that most people will be able to answer, I'm just going to immediately deny everything they say and say that things don't exist because that completely frees me from the burden of proof. No, it doesn't. It doesn't free you from shit. In fact, if anything, it actually indicates that you are required to answer the fucking question because it means that you can't otherwise. I found it funny that in your attempted debate with Damien, when Damien actually tried to talk to you and have an actual discussion, you did not say shit to him. You more or less ignored him and jerked him and Justin around for nearly 2 hours. When you wanted to have a debate with me, Cass, Steve, and Damien and a bunch of other fucking people, we openly said multiple times that we wanted it to be either like a Skype debate or Discord debate or a call debate, like some sort of debate where everyone could actually fucking talk and ask you questions one at a time and get answers in real time. And the moment you found out that it wasn't going to be your way, you immediately tried to make it a text debate. And when people tried to like reason with you and get you to actually try to finagle you more or less into actually just trying to meet us halfway and actually getting into the Skype, like to the actual messenger call to talk to everyone in that debate, you more or less jerked everyone around for nearly 3 fucking hours. You pissed everyone off, wasted everyone else's time, and made Steve feel bad about it because he felt embarrassed that the whole situation ended up becoming a shit show. Which honestly, I don't blame Steve at all. I don't blame Steve at all. The reason I don't blame Steve is because the last couple times that Stetson and Steve and I had an encounter with Stetson, he actually was willing to have a verbal debate. He was more than willing to have a verbal debate at the time. But then as soon as other people show up, it's like, no, 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 no. It's almost like he knew for a fact that if Cass was, like, he knew Cass was gonna be there and shit. And as soon as he realized that there was gonna be a fox there, he got fucking nervous because sometimes foxes eat fish. And I'm not saying fish because it's a racial slur against Asians, you stupid fucking retard. Like, seriously, no one I've ever heard of ever has ever used that as a racial slur against Asian people ever. In fact, if you actually look it up in the dictionary, you'll see that it only refers to the Piscean animal and not a racial slur whatsoever. You're so fucking stupid. It's not even funny how much of a dumb asshole you are, because more or less you're trying to say, well, I have the right to be this big of an asshole to you, but if you say anything about it, you're an asshole. Well, okay, like, so we're bullies, but isn't it kind of bullying in and of itself to, like, harass someone's sick mom when they're trying to recover from an illness? Isn't it bullying in and of itself to, like, make fun of someone's family member who practically raised them as a child dying slowly and painfully of cancer in their own home, while their loved ones can only look on and try to make them as comfortable as humanly possible before the inevitable outcome finally occurs? Like, what puts you in any position, asshole, to judge anyone and try to yammer on about how you're so much you're superior to all the evil conservatives? I find it funny that all those people you label conservatives are actually a lot more reasonable than you are, which is kind of fucking hysterical. I mean, really, you really are a stupid motherfucker, because you're just running around saying, everyone that doesn't agree with me is immediately a white supremacist. Oh, I see, so you're pulling the CNN virtue signaling card, where you're trying to moral fag about everything. Everything I agree with is okay, but if you don't agree with me, you're a bigot. If you ever get tired of living in the world where you actually have to live up to the accountability of your actions, you can always just jump off a building. I'm pretty sure that'll work. And I'm saying this because you're an asshole. Nothing else but that. If it wasn't for your bullshit fucking behavior, people wouldn't say shit about you at all. People would criticize you in the sense that your beliefs are insane. And that would be all it is, though. That would be the only direction it would go in. But when you go out of your way to make an asshole of yourself and shit on people's problems and try to mock them because they call you out for being a dickhead, then that's how you know you've opened a whole new fucking Pandora's box for yourself. Honestly, it's fucking stupid because you're trying to run around and moral fag about everything. It's like, look how good of a person I am. Look how good of a person I am. Yeah, you're such a good person. You'll harass people's sick family members, and you'll accuse people of being cold-blooded murderers, and you'll lie about people and say that they hate the gay community because you're a fucking asshole and they think that, oh, well, I represent all of humanity. No, you don't, you fucking retard. Alright then, if you represent all of humanity, I dare you to walk out in public and say the shit that you personally believe, and say the bullshit that you personally made up about a lot of the people that you know. And then we'll fucking see how that goes. We'll fucking see how that goes. Like, we'll see people, like, lining up in the street to kick your ass. Conservative, centrist, libertarian, liberal, communist, socialist, doesn't matter, because when people start seeing the shit that you've said And those screenshots are everywhere, Stetson. I've sent them to everyone I know and everyone they know. They've circulated it pretty fucking widely so that people from every fucking corner of the YouTube are basically just slapping your account around and making fun of you. And the reason I've done this is because I personally don't want you around. Now, I'm not going to flag your channel or any bullshit like that. I would not request anyone flag his channel. But I would request that everyone just spam his channel with the word fish for a week straight. Just all caps, all cap letter. Just fish, 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 fish. Like, just keep doing that until he ultimately just leaves the fucking internet. Because then you're just typing one harmless word that's completely innocuous that only he would find offensive. Because he's just that fucking dumb. Like, it's really hard to take him fucking seriously. Really, it is. It's hard to just imagine a human being could be this fucking stupid, but somehow survive till adulthood. I've actually contacted the place that he claims to have lived at. And I'm not going to get into too much detail here for the sole purpose of liability. But apparently one of the people that worked there, who will go unnamed, their identity will remain anonymous I don't want them to get fired or lose their job or anything like that over this. Because I don't want this person's life to be ruined or anything. I don't want some psychotic wacko SJW like tracking down this place where they work and like needlessly accosting them because they refuse to baby Stetson. But apparently, according to this person that I've talked to, they said that he was a very weird person, he was very unusual, and they said that he did have like this really weird issue when it came to his behavior, where if someone said something, he would immediately try to flip it on its head and make it seem like he was the smarter of the two of them, regardless of what they've said. They also said this weird thing where if someone tried to like talk to him about something, like if they had a disagreement, instead of just simply agreeing to disagree and not caring about it, he had to prove he was right. So like apparently he would try to push an argument for hours to days, and like every time someone would talk to him about something entirely different, if it was the same person he was fighting with prior, the argument would be brought right back up, and then like he would argue with this person again, just because he felt like he wasn't proven right the first time when he screeched like a mongoloid. Again, I cannot name this person by name who told me these things. But the fact is, this person more or less said that he acts like a fucking crazy person. Like, he is still there, to my knowledge. I don't know if he's still there now or not, because this was a while ago. Like, this is right after I read the second book. Well, I shouldn't say book, I should say Polished Turd, or Crybaby Boohoo Diary of a Wacko. But more or less, the person said that he seemed to have a lot of serious fucking problems. Like they said that, according to his medical records, he was like something like medically wrong with him. I forget what it was. But apparently there was like something mentally off with him. But of course, whenever people would try to bring it up or ask him about it, he would just completely deny it. Like, he is completely within his right mind, despite the fact that he's proven that he's not quite mentally sound. All I'm saying is, Stetson, if you're going to try to censor other people for disagreeing with you, like a fascist, if you're going to start telling people they're not allowed to say certain words because they trigger you, like a fascist, if you're going to start trying to shut people down because they simply disagree with you, even though they have evidence that proves them right, like a fascist, then maybe, just maybe, you should just call yourself Hitler and get it over with. I mean, honestly, you have this, like, really weird morality about you, where you say morals don't exist, but then when people say, well, since morals don't exist, that means nothing we did to you is bad, because if there's no morality, there's no good or bad. And that was like, well, yeah, that what you did there is bad, it was mean. Well, if morality doesn't exist, then how can you define something as mean or something as nice? Like, there's no point in trying to differentiate the two if morality does not exist. And when people try to bring that point up, you more or less, like, you spurg the fuck out, and, like, you immediately label them as a conservative, and you never bother to actually answer the fucking questions in terms of a rebuttal. All I'm saying is, Stetson, if you're gonna deal with this, try to grow some balls and act like an adult. Or get the fuck off the internet.